Hello, welcome to another edition of Years Later, an Album in Review. An Album in Review is part of our iFacts Where the Music Lives On YouTube channel series. I'm your host, Pamela D, and this episode will take us back to 1978. 1978 for me is a time of discovery. I graduated high school in June, and it was my first year in college. I was majoring in journalism, but still I was so attached to the music I was always hearing in my head. So I hadn't yet reached the days of concentrating solely on my studies. 1978 was also a great year for R&B music. There was new releases coming, the Jacksons, the OJs, the Doobie Brothers, Funkadelic, the Isley Brothers, and Heatwave. And they were albums that I did purchase, and these were by artists I was so familiar with. But I also had a habit of buying albums by unknown artists, and I did it quite frequently. And there were many times that I was so lucky at doing this, so I wasn't quite fully disappointed with the ones that I did purchase. One of those selections that I did make in 1978 was an album titled Crosswinds by Peabo, Bryson. I had no idea who this singer was. I had never heard of him, but it was the way he appeared on the album cover, and I did that a lot. I did study album covers quite a bit in those days, and he was dressed pretty nice, had a nice fro, and I loved the title Crosswinds. I wasn't sure what it meant as a song, but hey, I was ready to find out. Crosswinds, released on Capitol Records, was produced by Peabo Bryson, and talented producer and arranger Johnny Pate. Now, for those who are not familiar with Johnny Pate, he was well known throughout the Chicago area as a producer and arranger in R&B, soul, and pop music, and he is considered a legend. He is still with us today at 100 years old, and he actually started out as a jazz musician with several recordings on the Chess record label. He would produce for B.B. King, among others. He played with the likes of the staple singers Sam Cooke, Curtis Mayfield, The Impressions, and he's considered the major architect of Chicago soul. Motown, Stax Records, and Philadelphia were all influenced by Johnny Pate, the way he arranged music. It all comes from him. And it is one of the reasons why I stress the importance of understanding our contributions to this art, because I know so many that don't know who this guy is. Now you do know. And if you get the opportunity, please read on him more, because it is a wonderful history. But with Pate behind Peabo on this album, Peabo was in great hands, and it resulted in a very fine album. It opens with the title song, which is Crosswinds, and it happens to be my favorite on the album. Peabo's voice is very smooth, it's strong, and I was so surprised when I got this album, because I was liking how it was sounding, and man, I had to pat myself on the back, because I consider I had got a really, really good album. Crosswinds was written by Peabo, and it tells of a story of misdirected feelings of a woman that he is in love with, and he's caught between her emotions for someone else. Next is I'm So Into You. This is a really, really romantic song. It's full of intimacy with very cleverly written lyrics, also by Peabo. And after that is another favorite of mine. The song is called Smile. It is really upbeat. And again, Bryson, he has such he has a really good sound. He has those strong vocals, as I mentioned earlier. And, his voice, when it's layered, because they use a lot of layers in this particular song, it sounds so good. And the song is hard to resist, I'm telling you. Let's see. Now you have another song which I think is the best song on the album. And it's also another favorite of mine, but I still love Crosswinds now. Love is Watching You is another one that displays the smoothness and the strength of his vocals, and is one of the best songs, like I said. And, again, this was written by Peabo. I was very happy that I got this album, and I would end up playing it at least, twice a week, sometimes more. It is an album that is a far cry from the music that Bryson would be known for years later, and it was music that I didn't really care for. It's kind of syrupy, and, I'm not fond of syrupy music. But here, Bryson is in control, and he's solid with his lyrics, the great arrangement by Peabo. You just couldn't go wrong here. This would be Bryson's third album. And again, I had no idea of his prior work. So, I'm thinking this is his first album, but he had actually 3 more. And because of this album, I ended up buying his second album, which was also really, really good. Now, his first album, I couldn't find it at the time, so I wasn't able to get that. But I consider this album his best work, and to me it ranks in the top 20 R&B albums released in 1978. This week's song's recommendation comes from IFAT's member Consuela Gibbons. The song is As by Stevie Wonder, and it is taken from the album Songs in the Key of Life. Now, I know a lot of people love this song, but and know it. There's something Consuela feels about this song. She feels the song is so perfectly phrased, combined with Stevie's powerful vocals at the end. The lyrics, until the day that 8 times 8 is 4, Consuela says it represents the deep personal love from whomever Stevie was referring to. She goes on to say that it really doesn't have to be a personal story. It's just a great song that she has loved since it came out. The meaning of the song, she continues to say, grows bigger every time I listen to it. Consuela, we thank you for your song recommendation, and it is a really good song. If you have a song that you would like to recommend, please email us at ifats1@yahoo.com. Thank you for listening.
Did you know that true love asks for nothing? Her acceptance is the way we pay. Did you know that life is giving love a guarantee to last through forever and another day? Just as time knew to move on since the beginning, and the seasons know exactly when to change. Just as kindness knows no shame, nothing for your joy and pain, and I'll be loved.